brief something about your education background, experience, and all?
Okay, so yeah, I have completed my graduation in Punjab Technical University in 2014, and then I am working. I started my working journey, and previously I started work as a PHP developer, and then I moved to Node.js, and for last 5.5 years. More than 5.5 years, I'm working in as a Node.js TypeScript developer. So my tech stack is for last project was Node.js, TypeScript, ExpressJS, and MySQL, MongoDB, Redis for the database related and caching related, and for message broking related thing, I have worked with Apache Kafka, and for searching related thing, I have worked with Elasticsearch. So this is some tech stack I have worked with till now. Worked on in React.js, but that is around more than 4 years ago. So mainly I'm working fully backend developer for last 4 years and more than 4 years. So that's why I didn't mention, because I don't have intention to go in any front end development.
Okay, fine. But you know basics of React, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And for Node, on which database you've been working on?
MySQL, MongoDB, both I have worked with in Node.
Okay. Have you worked on MongoDB?
Yes, yes.
And what is your experience with MongoDB?
I mean, normal CRUD operation and aggregation, this type of experience I have worked with.
Okay. Okay, if I ask you to differentiate between promise and a callback function, can you explain me?
Yeah. So callback is basically a function that we pass as a parameter of another function, and it gets called from that function within that function. So it's basically give us the it helps us to call some task which is dependent on another task. So after completing that task, it calls that task, the second task. So for the second task, we make some function and we pass that function name as a parameter of the first of the function which is completing the first task. So this is some architecture callback used, and it is used for dependent task. And for promise, we can use promise to do the dependent task using dot then function. So basically callback, what we achieve through callback, the same thing we can achieve through promise, but the difference is callback becomes heavier, and it makes callback hell if we do multiple dependent tasks one after one after one. So each time we have to pass that function name in the main function and call within that. So it becomes the it decreases it actually decreases the readability of the programming. But for the promise, it helps us to structure the architecture correctly using the dot then function, so it more clear and more good to read. So that's the difference mainly.
Okay. Okay. If I ask you to choose between promise and callback, which should be the ideal one to be used?
Obviously, I will choose promise because it's clear and.
Okay. What is callback help?
So callback hill is basically when we call one task, within that task we are calling another task, and within that task we are calling another task. So it becomes mainly the function becomes horizontally bigger, horizontally longer than vertically. So it basically decrease the readability of the function one after one after one. So it actually makes some difficulties to debug also, and difficulties to understand also for new developers. So that's something is callback hell.
Okay, if I ask you, async await works synchronously or asynchronously?
So async await is basically makes our async program as a synchronous process. Like for normally in Node.js, we do every task as asynchronously. But the thing is, if we need to wait for any task to get the result and then proceed further, because the further process is dependent on that result, then we need to make our program synchronously. So that time we need to wait on that position to get the result first and then proceed for the further. So for this we use async await basically.
Okay. Can you explain me what is a middleware?
So middleware is basically a piece of function like some other function, but it has functionality using next method. So next method helps us to shift the process control to the next function, function already pipelined with the middleware function. So middleware function is a function which have a request access, request object access, response object access, and the next method access, and the next method in the parameter, and it use next method at the end of the function to shift the control to the next function, whatever mentioned in the pipeline of the request response process.
Okay. Have you worked on Redis?
Yeah, Redis I have worked on mainly for crashing purpose.
Okay. And how does it helps in speeding up the data we want in our front end?
Okay, so basically Redis stores the data in memory. So it basically mainly stores in RAM, so it gets the data more quickly rather than the getting data from the main DB, which stored in the permanent storage, which is in hard disk or something. So that basically helps us to get the data quickly from the Redis and get the response quickly basically. So it helps to reduce our response time of the API. So normally we do cache that type of data which is not change very frequently. So that type of data we used to store in Redis and get the data to get the API time faster, make the API time faster.
Okay. Have you worked on socket.io?
No, socket.io I have not worked.
Any basic idea why we use socket.io for?
Yeah, basically we can use that mainly in chatting process, or more broadly we can say that something we need to use like one event we call, and on response we have to call another event, and that is something for we can use socket.io. It's basically I mean I have some sort of idea, but I can't actually express that thing. Yeah.
Fine, that's it. Have you worked on microservices?
Yeah, I have worked on microservices.
Okay. Can you explain what is microservices?
So basically, earlier we normally do projects. Every module in the projects we make in the single project, that is monolithic. But in microservice, what happens? Like for every feature, we have made different projects and combine those projects through a API gateway. So the API gateway is the main project that connects different projects for different features. So this is some architecture of microservice. So API gateway basically checks the all the requests, that is authenticated or not, that is authorized or not, that is the rate limiting is maintaining properly or not. So after checking these security issues in the API gateway, it passes the request to the respective microservice for that particular feature. So this is some architectural flow for the microservice.
Okay. Okay. If I assume that I want to shift from microservices, monolithic architecture to microservices architecture. If I want to shift my project from that to microservices, what is the benefit that I'll get? Why should I go?
Yeah, so benefit is the first benefit is the if we use everything in a single project, so every project we need to deploy in a server. So if if a whole project goes into a single server, runs into a single server, there can be a chance of single point failure. So if the server is failed, the whole project will go down, rather than if we use different projects and connecting those. So if some feature is some server is failing, that doesn't affect other features, so the whole application doesn't go down. That is one helps. And the second help is if some feature is experiencing more traffics rather than other features, so it doesn't affect other features to run in it, to it doesn't affect or issue any other features. But for that particular feature we need to scaling, we need some expanding, so that we can do for a particular feature, not for the whole. So it will help us to reduce our server load. It will help us to maintain our features properly in the application live properly. So that type of things we can get achieve through microservice architecture.
Okay. Have you worked on Kafka and RabbitMQ?
Yeah, Kafka I have worked on. Basically, I used Kafka like producing some topic to the Kafka, and with the topic name, the partition value, and the data we want to pass to that particular topic, and the consumer that consume that topic and get that data and works on that data whatever they need. So that type of architecture that Apache Kafka used, and I have worked on that actually.
Okay. Okay, if I ask you to create any application from scratch and I want you to make it a secure application, particularly focusing on the backend only, how will you make it a secure application? What will you do for its security purpose?
Okay, so for security purpose, we need to authorize, we need to authenticate every request. So for authentication purpose, I have used JWT and HMAC. So both I have worked on. So this is basically a key generated at the time of login or the registration time of the user, and it sends back to the front end. And from the front end, whenever we receive a call, we check the authorization key, that authorization key, we check that it is valid or not. If the authorization key is valid, then we pass on to the main middleware or something, and whatever the process. And apart from this, we can use rate limiter to reduce the multiple calls using, I mean, some bot or something that we can do. So these two security thing we should think about while we and another thing, that these two I will do if we do in scratch. Yeah, do from scratch.
Okay. Have you worked on Docker?
Yeah, Docker I have worked on, basically making the images of the whole project and sending that to the Kubernetes by using the Jenkins declarative pipeline. So yeah, getting the code, making the Docker image. So that is process that I have worked on.
Okay, and what about Kubernetes?
So Kubernetes, I have not worked on, I mean, fully because the DevOps team most of the time handles these things. But yeah, I have idea of Kubernetes, how they implement using Helm chart, not using Helm chart also I have idea. So installing deployment, different pods and deployment using the multiple pods and making some surveys to access those deployments and volumetric deployment for the MySQL. So these type of things I have idea, and I saw that I have not worked on in hands in Kubernetes, but I have idea how to do that.
Okay. What do you understand by code reusability, and how do you apply it in your application to make it optimized?
So code reusability and optimized document should be, we should follow I mean the solid principle what we can follow to achieve the code reusability and code optimization. So basically using the interface and then using some class that handles for a particular feature and using that particular feature multiple times, inheriting that main class in the base class in the child classes. So that type of architecture I will follow if I need to use. Yeah.
Okay. What do you understand by MVC architecture?
MVC architecture is basically making different folders for different part of the applications, basically for models that is mainly use database connections, mainly handles database connections. The models, the view is basically the front end view what end user interacts with the application, and the controller basically which controls the coming request from the front end layer and throwing that request to the model and getting the data from the model and passing that to the view layer. So this is some different layering of the applications. We should maintain those layering in different folders. Yeah, that is some architecture of MVC, model view controller. Yeah, that's something.
Okay. As you mentioned, you worked on MongoDB as well, right?
Sorry, I'm working.
I'm saying, as you have mentioned, you have worked on MongoDB as well, right?
Yeah, MongoDB I have worked with.
So in MongoDB, we have two options while using Mongoose to add some data in our database. That is save function and create function. Are you aware of these two?
Save function and create function. I have worked with, I mean, insert one, insert many, but save function, I have not remembering anything. Sorry, I have not worked maybe.
Okay, you haven't worked not even any of single of them.
Save function, I have not heard this term actually. I have worked with CRUD and aggregation, but save function I have not heard anything. I use lean to get only data that is
While we are getting some data, that I understand, but okay, see, okay. If you create, if you have a login system, okay, and there is a user who is registering in your system, and then his data is coming in the request body. How do you save it in your database?
Okay, so if I'm getting some data in the request body, so normally we'll have some in MongoDB. Normally, in every collection, we'll have some schema or something, some design from the application layer that will convert that data into that particular schema, and we'll store that. But using the insert or insert one, I have done that thing. I'm not.
Do you guys don't use Mongoose?
Mongoose I have used. I mean through create function I have used basically.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was asking. No? You were saying that you haven't worked on create and save. Create you have used, right?
Yes, I have used Create.
But you haven't worked on save.
I have worked on Safe. No, I have not worked with Safe.
Okay, fine. Okay, do one thing. Share a screen and open any compiler, be it local to your language, whichever you're comfortable with. I'll give you some questions. You have to do it.
Sure.
If you're stuck, see, I have to join another meeting as
I understand. Yeah.
I don't want to waste your time as well, not mine as well.
Mhm.
If you're stuck, let's end this interview where I'll share the report to HR and
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot.